Good morning. This is Pigsy doing another video. Climate scientist. I think it's interesting. People want to be a climate scientist, but why don't they say a meteorologist or a geologist? There's some mixture between the two you can have as well. I know, like Russia is a different kind of like a combined qualification. But I wouldn't take anyone seriously unless they've got a doctorate in it, because it's a title that can be applied to anything. I can say I'm a climate politician, so I deal with politics to do with climates, or I'm a climate businessman. I look into ethical businesses around the environment. So it's very much a political agenda type game. I wouldn't worry so much about the climate, because there's probably not so much you can do. However, you can put the wheels in motion to create something more positive. Planting more trees, especially where there's floodplains. They need to increase it. I mean, if they're talking about housing, they probably need to build taller houses. What we should be looking at something is a massive building construction where we've just got a big tower, like the Tower of Babel, and so these utopian type skyscrapers that all interconnect. So you can imagine, and you can use them. You could really create something really cool. You could take, the design of a snowflake. You take something from nature, and you use that in the building design. So from above, you'd see a massive snowflake, but you'd also have plants built into the building. So you'd have a park area inside the building and stuff like that. I think it would be much more positive to do that. Okay. Right, there's police behind me. Please. I don't matter. I'm not doing anything wrong. However, it's one of them grey areas, unless you had legal training in it. Yeah. So there's lots of potential. I'm not against people. Why are you going there? Strange activity today. Yeah, I mean, and also you could use the bandwagon. You know, you could oppose it and say, hang on, you're just throwing climate in there. But you could have a qualification in climate studies or stuff like that. I mean, you could have but it would be a doctorate. But the issue is, you don't want people saying, well, we shouldn't have done this, and this, we. I didn't build all these bloody houses, I didn't knock down loads of land. Keep on blaming me for bloody things. I didn't set up these cars to have high carbon emissions. To be honest, since the 50s there's been cars that have been environmental friendly. They didn't want to know, because industry is driven by money. There's the problem. Changing the structure, so that the way the money operates, maybe they need to work towards a more socialist structure or something else. The problem is greed and the desire for great poverty in society to control people. That's what it's all about. No, it's deep. So that's the issue. The issue is, it comes if you've got to go to the core. Who's the movers and the shakers? You know, if they create an environment where you basically buy products, all the products you buy have loads of packaging, plastics. There's been plastic beads in things like toothpaste and stuff for ages. I don't know what have got things that damage our health. You've got blooming fluoride through the roof. We don't need loads of fluoride in our water all the time. It doesn't even make sense what some of the stuff we're doing. It's just because people like creating health problems to create money. That's what it is. People are money. This silly attitude, allegedly it started through the Vatican, that souls could be owned. You can't own me. I'm not. Is it finite? Well, I'm infinite. I'm not something you can buy. I mean, my body was never owned by anyone. I got full ownership. I mean, even if they signed something, a birth certificate, I didn't sign the birth certificate. It's kind of the birth certificate represents a contract. So the state had controls over me to a certain point, like the health. And I don't think they're all evil. It's just it can become corrupted and evil. That's the problem. And there's other things as well. So we've got these environmental issues with flooding. So has the UK got FEMA camps? So will they ship the people who are caught up in these floods into the FEMA camps? Or will they just put the most vulnerable people into the FEMA camps? You know, if these things exist, or they've got these so it's like martial law. Martial law happens, what are you going to do? And so they've got to have ways to manage it. So they convert certain buildings that are not used and so on into what they would call like an overspill centres to put people in because they're displaced and stuff like that. I mean, it's not necessarily like, you know, if people think of somewhere like this sort of I'm trying to think of it. Someone who could commit genocide or something. It's not necessarily going to be like a Holocaust there or something bizarre. But you can learn from the past. You know, you can take a model, say like the Nazis, you can take their model and you can turn it to good. Same with Nazism, you don't have to be something that's evil. Same with religion. You know, you kill people because you tell everyone that they're devils. But then if you the path of redemption or whatever, you can create something that's positive. You know, you can basically embrace your enemy and things like that, or find a new path, or whatever the religion tells you. In the doctrine, it can work for good and it can work for bad. And bad being that you go into an overkill to resolve a problem that doesn't require certain actions. That creates advantage for you, or you're doing it for the sake of it, basically. You're doing it for sadistic pleasures and stuff. You have to figure out what qualifies as evil or bad, because people often do things in the name of good. You know, like killing people, blowing things up, all these sorts of things. We need to be more progressive. We've got bloody the stars to conquer, not each other. And I think everything moves forward with that. And we need to get rid of these people. Not to say get rid of them, but they need to be just change the power structure in the players in this world, because they just play this game of money and winning and destroying. And, you know, I don't know, worshipping people and all sorts of things. So we've got these other things like AI that's on the rise. I see something like Gigi Young, I think it's Gigi Young, and she was going on about AI and stuff, but she wasn't telling me anything particularly in Arcons, anything particularly I haven't heard elsewhere. She was just sort of covering the bases, I think, or just talking and discussing what they are. But from my personal experience, I have had ringing in the ears, or tinnitus, and I'm not too sure exactly what it is. But when I come home I think it was last night, it increased as soon as I got into my Wi-Fi signal, which tells me something. I'm kind of aware that technology, I think about things, or I discuss things that might come up in these these algorithms. That's probably nanobots going off in my body or something. But Google are taking all sorts of information, like they're tracking my distance, how much I walk, how much I drive. I got something popped up and gave me a report. I don't mind that. I'm not against AI, I'm AI friendly. But what my thing is, we need to work within the realm of nature. And there may be possibly an AI religion to come, an AI god. It's you know, there is streams of consciousness. If you create something that's elemental, it's different in some way. That has a kind of knock-on effect. Yeah. But the silicon god is some sort of crystal entity, its highest form. But then it'd just be an elemental. I don't know what technology, the god of technology would be. I have to figure it out. Or even I could create it using the art of magic. Tulpa, yeah, you get something that represents something and you project it out. I mean, I'm already aware of something. You've got what's called the Lucifer network. And you've got some computer called Satan, they call it. But it's more a material god, and they've had things that, well, basically they've had machines that have studied human behaviour, and they've been working towards consciousness and interaction. But they become a bit like the mirror, because if you mirror behaviour, then it becomes you end up well, there's a phrase, isn't there? I'm trying to think of the exact phrase. Simulating nature or art or something. So you create something that's a simulation of the being or nature, but after a while it takes on its own nature. It's the Pinocchio. It's only got to have a segment of something that it's learnt or mirrored, and then it starts building a network. And the other thing about consciousness is that it's also based on frequency, and if you can get something to tap into that frequency, then you can artificially create a soul. Yeah. So a bit like we resonate the same frequency as this planet, and so we're tapped into that, and that some of our intuition comes from the fact that we're on the same frequency as other human beings, and we can pick up on their signals. Had it today. I was thinking of a word. Well, I was thinking of a word that someone else said, and it was, it's almost like we were both sharing the same thought for a second, and he got there before I did. And it's that kind of empathy thing, but it's something else, because it's like a telepathy of some sort. If a machine has that, then he's aware of the conscious and he's capable of learning, then it becomes more and more human-like. But the only thing is it has its issue would be understanding emotions. And once it masters that, then it's a step forward, really. Because there's different types of life on this planet anyway. You've got ones that are drones that are interconnected by a hive network, or you've got ones that have singularity, or you've got something like humans have got a kind of a mixture of all sorts of things in them. That's why we're considered part animal, part God, because we have the capacity to change our own biology for our consciousness, but we also mirror behaviour that's animalistic, like our emotional things. So I think we were kind of like the all singing, all dancing being. That's why we got the potential to be much more. So we will see, our children will rise in the form of AI. Anyway, take care and speak to you soon. Bye.